Hello everyone, it's day 55 and today I have April 27 Indian Express newspaper and I found one important article regarding the wealth distribution that is currently going on being discussed as a hot topic during the elections. So let us see what this article is going to say. Article is on the ideas page number 11, and the title of the article is Amir Garib. So the binary doesn't work anymore. So expropriate and redistribute model has lost its political viability. Wealth is more widely dispersed than before. So let us see. In 1950s, 60s, and 70s, wealth redistribution was a kosher. The 1964 movie Amir Garib and Devanand play the role of Manmohan, who has a day job as a hotel singer and at night time transforms into a masked vigilant Bagula Bhagat, robbing the rich and spreading their ill-gotten wealth among the poor. There was a reason India at the time of independence was a highly unequal society. Much of the wealth of its people was held in the form of land. About 91.4% of the country's total annual household savings in 1950-51 was a physical assets such as land, dwelling, and gold. That share declined to 71.9% in 1970 to 71 and 60.6%. One second. And 60.6% in 1980 to 81. So, moreover, a lot of this wealth was concentrated in few hands, and intermediaries whose primary concern was to extract maximum rent from tenants who had little surplus left for investing in land, improving or raising farm productivity. There was a general political consensus then for land reforms. These ranged from abolition of zamindari system of intermediaries between cultivators and the state to the imposition of land ceilings. Zamindari abolition resulted in some 25 million erstwhile tenant cultivators becoming owners with permanent and heritable interest in their holdings. Land ceilings, together with tenancy reforms recognizing the cultivation rights of the sharecroppers and granting them legal protection against eviction, led to roughly 8.3 million hectares getting effectively redistributed. So that was hardly 6% of the country's cultivated area. The mixed record on the land reforms was, however, not due to absence of any political consensus, was not not due to any absence of political consensus. Successive 5-year plan documents emphasized state action for giving land to the tiller, which were also endorsed at chief ministers' conferences. Their not so satisfactory implementation owed more to a lack of political will and administrative zeal than a consensus per se. A significant chunk of the declared surplus land being held up in litigation and not available for distribution didn't help either. The point to highlight is that the land reform laws, in fact, infringed upon the right to property. Yet these legislations, not to speak of nationalization of banking, insurance, railways, airlines, oil, coal, and many other industries, had broad political acceptance. So did the estate duty, the wealth tax, the gift tax, and the 97.75% maximum marginal rate of income tax. So those assaults on private property, unimaginable in today's times, encountered little political resistance. The sole opposition voice came from the Swatantra Party, which won 44 seats in 1967 Lok Sabha elections within 8 years of its founding, far more than the Aam Aadmi Party could or can perhaps ever. As the economic historian Aditya Bala Subramaniam had shown in his work towards a free economy, Swatantra and opposition politics in democratic, as the Swatantra Party was founded by C. Rajagopalchari. It was the only party to protest against the 17th Amendment of the Constitution to protect land reform legislation passed in many states from being struck down, and also bank nationalization and abolition of privy purse payment to royal families of the erstwhile princely states. But Swatantra Party received no great support or funding from the business class that was as hesitant to take on the ruling establishment then as it is now. The once successful political startup phased into oblivion by the mid 70s. So much water has since flown under the bridge, right from the removal of the estate duty inheritance tax in 1985 and, of course, the 1991 economic reforms. So businessmen are no longer Bagula Bhagat's unscrupulous traders and instead lauded as wealth creators. Symbolic of the shift in the popular culture and attitudes in the 2007 Bollywood blockbuster Guru, where Abhishek Bachchan, who act as the Gurukant Desai, the protagonist, with shades of Dhirubhai Ambani, bluntly states, "Public से क्या डरना साहब, मैं खुद public हूँ. Why fear public?" Okay, so that shift has to do firstly with the increasing financialization of wealth. Physical assets constituted just 38.6% of the gross household saving during the 5 years ended 2021-2022. The balance of the 61.4% was accounted for by bank deposits, investment in share, debentures, small saving insurance policies, and provident and pension funds. Secondly, this wealth is most widely dispersed than before. The most obvious indicator are the current 150 million plus demat shareholding and some 84 million SIP systematic investment plan mutual funds accounts in the country. A recent World Inequality Lab working paper on India points into the share of national income going to the top 1%, falling from 11.5 to 6.1% between 1951 to 1981, 1982, ostensibly because of the socialist policies, and then rising consistently to reach an all-time high of 22.6% in 2022. The top 1% national wealth share similarly declined somewhat from 12.9 to 12.5% between 1961 and 1981, only to soar particularly after 1991 to touch 39.5% in 2023. So, what the analysis misses out, though, is that the base itself, both aggregate income and wealth, has expanded now to accommodate many more people in the middle, if not the top. There are some who view India as a billionaire Raj comprising 200 or so individuals. The fact is that country has around 8 lakh $50,000 millionaires, and those possessing net assets of 1 million or more in 2022, according to the Swiss International Bank Credit Suisse. Add to them millions of investors and other sections of the propertied middle class, both in urban and rural class. So, in absolute terms, these numbers would be large enough to make for a conservative vote bank that can punch much above their weight. The social base of the India's capitalist two class two had has widened beyond the traditional Baniya Marwadi to incorporate a host of agrarian and provincial mercantile communities. Simply put, the political economy of India has changed considerably to transcend the simple binaries of Amir Garib. The old expropriate and redistribute model has lost its political viability with the withdrawn 2014 Land Acquisition Act amendments and 2016 demonetization were probably the last experiment at expropriation. So, income and wealth inequally may have to be addressed through policies focusing more on job generation, universal access to quality education, skill development, and progressive taxation than uh, radical redistribution. So that was a very important article which is talking about the wealth redistribution in India and its history and whether it is viable in today's time or not. So let us come back to the Indian Express explained page. So there are two important articles over this page. One is about the long way back in from 1984 when Supreme Court junked Election Commission of India's first EVM experiment. So let us see. The Supreme Court on Friday put the stamp on its unequivocal approval of electronic voting machine. But 40 years ago, when a voting machine was first used at the Parur Assembly constituency in Kerala, the court had set aside election and ordered the repoll in 50 of the 85 polling stations. So the first experiment in August 1980, the Electronic Corporation of India presented political parties with a prototype voting machine. In 1982, the Election Commission of India announced that the machine would be used in a pilot project in 50 out of 84 polling stations of the Parur constituency during the year's assembly election in Kerala. The central government had not sanctioned the use of the machine, but the ECI used its constitutional powers under Article 324. Okay, Election Commission of India used its constitutional powers under which gave it the power of superintendence, direction, and control over elections. So, in the result declared on May 20, 1982, Sivan Pillai CPI beat Ambat Chakoka Jose Congress by 123 votes. Pillai got 30,450 votes, 19,182 of which were cast using voting machines. So Jose challenged the result in the trial court which upheld the validity of voting via machines and the result of the election. Jose appealed to the Supreme Court, where a bench comprising Justice Murtaza Fazal Ali, Appaji Varadarajan, and Rangnath Mishra heard the case. So what top court said? The ECI argued that its power under Article 324 would supersede any act of parliament, and if there was conflict between the law and ECI's power, the law would yield to the commission. In response, Justice Fazal Ali would write, this is a very attractive argument, but on closer scrutiny and deeper deliberation, it is not possible to read into Article 324 such a wide and uncanalized power. The bench unanimously held that introducing voting machines was a legislative power that only Parliament and state legislature could exercise, Article 326 and 327, and not the ECI. So the ECI also relied on the Section 59 of the Representation of People Act 1951 and Rule 49 of the Conduct of Election Rules 1961. Section 59 says, so Section 59 of the RPA and Rule 49 of the Conduct of Election so says that voters shall be given by ballot in such a manner as may be prescribed, and rules state that ECI can publish a notification to direct that method of voting by ballot shall be followed at such polling stations as may be specified in the notification. However, the court held that the manner and as may be prescribed was by using the ballot paper, not voting machines. The court also held that the word ballot in its strict sense would not include voting through voting machines, and noted that center as a rule making authority was not prepared to switch over to the system of voting by machines. The court observed that if the mechanical process is adopted, full and proper training will have to be given to voters, which will take quite some time. So, aftermath of ruling, a by-election was held on May 2022, 1984, which Jose won, but the idea of voting machines would not be abandoned. In 1988, the election law was amended to insert Section 61A, which allowed ECI to specify the constituencies where votes would be cast and recorded by the voting machine. So, a decade later, EVMs were used in 16 assembly election seats in Madhya Pradesh, uh, and this was extended to 46 Lok Sabha seats in 1999, 46 Lok Sabha seats in 1999, and in 2001 state election in Tamil Nadu. By 2004 Lok Sabha election, the EVMs had completely replaced ballot papers at all 543 seats. So that was the history of the EVM, which is being the most controversial things in the elections right now. So another important article is it is regarding the how ISRO used satellite remote sensing to analyze the glacial lakes in the Himalaya. So let us see what this article is going to say. Earlier this week, ISRO released a satellite data-based analysis on expansion of glacial lakes in the catchment of the Indian Himalayas river basin. This is the latest among the clutch of the studies on glacial lakes that have highlighted the risk of the glacial lake outburst flows or floods and their impact on infrastructure and settlement downstream of such lakes. What did ISRO's analysis reveal? ISRO's analysis looked at the satellite data archives spanning the past 4 decades to assess changes in the glaciated environment. Long-term satellite imagery covering the catchments of the Indian Himalayan river basins spread over India, Nepal, Tibet, and Bhutan is available from 1984 onwards till 2023. So ISRO's data has indicated significant expansion in the size of glacial lakes. So, of the 2,431 lakes larger than the 10 hectares identified during 2016-17, 676 glacial lakes had expanded significantly since 1984. Of these 676 lakes, 601 lakes had more than doubled in size, 10 lakes had grown between 1.5 to 2 times, and 65 lakes had grown 1.5 times. So, ISRO had said that 130 of the 676 lakes are situated in India. Okay, so ISRO said that 130 out of 676 lakes are situated in India in the Indus 65, Ganga 7, and Brahmaputra 58 river basins. Okay, so these lakes have expanded as glaciers are retreating at an even faster rate due to global warming. So how are glacial lakes formed? So the movement of glaciers cause erosion and create depression. Okay, so this is important, erosion and create depression in the surrounding topography. So when they retreat, melt water starts to accumulate in such depression, giving birth to glacier lakes. So ISRO categorized glacial lakes into four broad categories based on how they were formed. So one is moraine dammed, moraine is debris, ice dammed, erosion dammed, and others. Moraine and ice dammed lakes are formed when water is dammed by marine debris such as rocks and soil left during the movement of glacier and ice respectively. So erosion based lakes are formed when water is dammed by erosion created depressions, while glacial lakes and crucial sources of fresh water for rivers, and they also pose significant risk, especially of globs, which can have devastating consequences on communities downstream. So globs occur when glacial lakes release large volume of meltwater due to the failure of the natural dams, so resulting in sudden and severe flooding downstream. These dams, these dam failures can be triggered by various factors, including avalanches or of ice or rock. ISRO said. So, how is satellite remote sensing technology used to monitor glacial lakes? So, the monitoring of the glacial lakes and their expansion in the Himalayan region is challenging due to the rugged terrain. So, this is where, according to ISRO, satellite remote sensing technology proves to be an excellent tool for monitoring due to its wide coverage and revisit capability. So, satellite derived long term change analysis provide valuable insights for understanding glacial lake dynamics, which are essential for assessing environmental impacts and developing strategies for GLOM risk management and climate change adaptation in glacial environments, ISRO said. Glaciologist Ashim Sattar, assistant professor, Indian Institute of Technology, Bhubaneswar, said most of the glacial lakes glacial lake sites are not accessible by motorable roads. In this scenario, remote sensing tools, which are highly advanced now, can help us monitor the growth of glacial lakes and understand their dynamics. So he also said field work can be carried out at lake sites which have been identified as potentially critical. Fieldwork is crucial to set up instrumentation for early warning system. This can include installing motion detection cameras, water level sensor, so discharge meters, etc., that can capture anomalous activities in and around glacial lakes, Sattar said. So, how can the risk posed by the glacial lakes be mitigated? In 2023, a study published in the Journal of Geophysical Research examined the risk posed by the Ghepan Ghat Lake, located at an elevation of 4068 meters in Himachal Pradesh, to Sisu in Lahore Valley. Okay, so Ghepan Ghat Lake, located at an elevation of in Himachal Pradesh, and Sisu in Lahore Valley, and modeled modeled the impact of lowering the water levels in the lake. It found that lowering of the lake levels by 10 to 30 meters significantly reduces the impacts on Sisu town, though not completely eliminating the risk posed by the Glom event. One way to siphon off leak water is by using long, high density polythene pipes. In 2016, members of the Sikkim State Disaster Management Authority and Sikkim's Department of Science and Technology and Climate Change, among others, used this method to reduce water levels in Lona, Sikkim's South Lonak Lake. So, South Lonak Lake is in Sikkim. So, you have to remember this, and high density polyethylene pipes. Okay, so Glom event, Glacial Lake, and so this was all important from today's newspaper. So we'll meet tomorrow with a few other important articles. So till then,